Yo, cars. They're all around the world. I mean, you have to have seen them. If you don't, well, I mean, you're just lying. Now, take cars and combine it with humans. And you get Cars, the movie. The movie went on to gross $462 million. That's a shit ton. I mean, other companies probably saw this and went, this movie's making a pretty good profit. What if we made it? How do you make a movie that's already been made? Shut up. That beautiful thought process is the reason why we got the movie Cargo, made by the gracious lords of the asylum. Some things I should go over before you watch the movie is it has a 2.8 out of 10 on IMDb. It's pretty low. The director is also known for making horror movies, and one of which movies got banned for being too graphic. The trailer itself made me feel sick, so just know that the guy who made this movie should not be allowed to make kids' movies. He should probably be in prison for what he depicted. Some notable characters would be Danny Carbuncle. He's the main character of the movie. He loves to race, and he's really cool in the town. He gets all the bays, all the booze, all the bops, and I mean, he's just chill with everybody. You got Vincent, also Vinny. He's a bad boy. He's ain't your typical car. He's a bad boy. That's right. He doesn't play by the rules. School, who needs it? He's a horrible influence on Danny, so there's that. You got Cabagale. Say that again, Cabagale, because that's a name. She's a girl car and Danny's other friend. She has a crush on Danny and wants to be around him at all times. She's kind of a stalker, really. How do you make saying she wants to be around Danny at all times not stalkery? She even admits to that. You got Danny's dad. He's a mechanic. Would a mechanic be a doctor in this movie? Or is a mechanic just a mechanic? He wants to teach Danny how to grow up properly. So, he's like the old head. The synopsis reads, a young Carr learns the importance of family when he embarks on a mission to rescue his father, who's been sent to Clunker Island to be repurposed as junk metal. And I won't beat around the bush. Let's just start. We set the scene in the town of Cargo, hence the movie name.
Welcome to Cargo.
Oh god, it's a musical. Okay, so apparently it's a musical. So the way the cars move and speak scares me. Danny Carbuncle and Vinny are in class, which Danny didn't study for a test. Uh-oh. Instead, Danny was racing.
If you hadn't convinced me to go racing, I would have studied.
Apparently, Vinny went to Juvie.
When you're in juvenile detention garage, would you rather work in the laundry or make license plates?
I wonder what he did. Also in that conversation, where he just admitted that he went to Juvie, Vinny also says to fake sick. Cabagale's like, no! Cabagale tells him to not to. There's like a little feud between them. And Vinny just completely peer pressures Danny.
Better than that.
Yeah, don't do it. No, don't do that. You're more chicken than that.
Vinny is not a good person. After Vinny told Danny to fake sick, Danny does fake sick. And the teacher tells him to go to the office. Vinny follows him and walks over his barf, or oil. It would be barf in this situation.
Sure, I'll take him. Miss Etzel, me.
Sick fuck. Instead of going to the nurse like he was supposed to, Vinny decides to sing about how they should ditch class.
Go where the fun is and don't sit around and mope it.
Again, doesn't seem really good. Vinny coerces him to go into street racing, which is illegal in this place.
I don't want to end up in juvie.
Juvie ain't so bad. 3 cans of oil a day in a garage of your own. Title it.
All Vinny has done right now is tell him to do everything wrong. Essentially just become a horrible person. You, Vinny. So Danny starts the illegal race, and nowhere it is. They put down like the most basic background ever for a race. I feel like a 5-year-old could make the background, really. While illegally racing, the fuzz catches them. You know, the big ol' 911, the 12. Probably because 9 + 1 + 1 = 12. Danny escapes the police with his expert escaping abilities. Back at his house, his dad's there and they have a conversation. And you want to guess what Danny does? Danny pisses himself. I think it's supposed to be barf, but it's piss. That's just, he pisses on himself. And his dad doesn't trust him. And you know what he's got to do? He's got to sing about it, baby. He's got to get those baby blues up in there.
What do you do when you've got a kid? That's the result of everything you did?
You know, after his dad sings about how he needs to be a good parent, you get cut to Danny's room and he's singing about how he's a teenager. Nobody understands his struggles.
I'm just a teenage car.
So Danny again has to try and fake being sick out to his dad, and there's a Sharknado movie reference.
A tornado full of cars. Could never happen.
So Asylum made Sharknado, and they also made this crappy mockbuster. While the Sharknado reference is happening, Danny decides to take the temperature thermometer and put it up on a lamp so it heats up. So the dad also wants him to be a mechanic, but that's not Danny's life. Oh, Dad, that's not my choice. Abigail overhears the conversation with his dad and calls Danny out for his bullshit. Tells him to stop being an ass.
Get your fender out of your tailpipe.
Get your fender out of your tailpipe. So after a little bit, Danny goes to another race and finds that his opponent is the son of the Mafia. So the race begins and the Mafia car pulls dirty moves. To slow down Danny and Vinny, the Mafia car shits himself. He shits himself onto Danny and Vinny.
Dust.
And they have the most cartoony slip out ever. For some reason, once they catch up to the Mafia boy, they decide to stop and just, chat around. So the police show up again, and instead of, outrunning them again, like Danny has been fully capable of doing, you saw it in the last scene where the police were, they just immediately stop. There's no chase scene, there's no nothing. He just stops to let the police officer just, kind of get them.
Everyone knows the speed limit in our town is 35 mph.
Who the does it like that? So after the cop stops him, he lets them off with a warning since he knows Vinny's dad. Bad policing, if you ask me. So Vinny and Danny fight over the race. But guess who's there?
Danny.
He's right behind me, isn't he?
Later, Danny.
He's right behind me, isn't he? It turns out Danny's dad was overhearing the fight about how they were racing, and now he has some choice words to say to Danny.
You don't think I'm hip to the thermometer and the exhaust? I was a kid once too, Danny.
Full of that teen angst that we always have. Danny says, "You don't understand me." So the dad tells him to stop racing, like a respectable parent since it's illegal, and they fight. The dad just gets ran over. Boom. Respectively, Danny faints after seeing his dad practically die and wakes up in the hospital. He finds that his dad has been totaled and he's going to get sent to Clunker Island.
Yes, he's on his way to Clunker Island in the morning.
Clunker Island?
Clunker Island is like where all the broken cars go so they can get used for old parts. It's kind of like, how do I put that? Hell? Yeah, it's kind of like hell. I mean, since they're going to be taking your organs. So after seeing his dad get killed, Danny decides to reflect on what he's done, since, what he did totally led to his dad's death. While Danny's sulking and, crying, Abigail comes up and they plan to go to Clunker Island so they can save his dad. Of course, since they are not broken and they haven't lost their pink slip, the ferryman won't let them on, so kind of out of luck. Their next big bright idea is that they're going to get wrecked. They're going to go to the Derby and they are going to get destroyed enough that they're getting sent to Clunker Island. What? You're telling me that your plan is to murder yourself so you can get sent to the place that they harvest your organs at. Danny's considered smart. This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. While at the entrance of the Derby, they get banned from coming in since they're not old enough. And you know what their bright idea is? The kid that's supposed to be smart? Their plan is to go to the theater and get old clothing. Since, that somehow makes a car look older. So they go to the theater, and the theater's just kind of in the void. It's in space. Where else would you have a theater? They can get the clothing, but it's under one condition. They act.
Chromio, Chromio, wherefore art thou, Chromio?
What?
Who is this stage manager to just allow two random people to A, take your clothing that you sewed and you hemmed, let some people take it, and B, just bring on two random people to act because the actors are out of gas. They had like a cheesy, awkward love scene in the middle of the acting as well.
No other lady will love you as much as I, Juliet, loved Chromeo.
Please stop the cringy car love story. Oh, God. The crowd loves what is the most god-awful acting ever. So they finally get the costumes, and they go back to the guy that's gonna let them in, and he, easily sees through the disguise.
Look, kids, I'm not buying it for a second.
You know, because all they put on was Romeo and Juliet clothing, so why would that work? Instead of not letting them in like he's supposed to do, he's gonna let them kill themselves gladiator style.
If you guys got that much of a death wish, you can just come on in. But don't say I didn't warn yous.
He went, God, I'm sick and tired of you. Just f***ing kill yourselves. While Danny fights all the other cars, he just zips on the wall. He just rides that shit. Don't know how, he just does. So the big boss of it, which I think they literally pulled from Cars 3. You know that big bus from Cars 3? Miss Fritter. So they take the bus from Cars 3, Miss Fritter, and they just put that in, and Danny has to fight Miss Fritter. Danny beats her. His entire plan was to just get himself totaled so he'd go to Clunker Island. He just won and he didn't get anything. Why even do that? He just risked his life and didn't go to where he needed to. So while that horrible plan fell through, the mafia pops up and decides that they're gonna get revenge on that one little mafia boy that they completely totaled. Instead of killing Danny for, killing the mafia's son, the mafia decides to just send Danny in a race. And if Danny loses, guess what? He's gonna get sent to Clunker Island. So all Danny has to do is lose. He has to go like 5 miles an hour and he'll just go to Clunker Island.
Cause we never, ever, never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever, ever hear the word no.
I love that guy.
Both of you shut up. You're giving me a carburetor ache.
A carburetor ache. So Danny plans to lose and go to Clunker Island. He races one speedy fireball.
And that's just what I am. I'm speedy, and I'm a fireball.
So Danny gets mad at him and decides, let's beat this guy. Saving my dad? Let's not save my dad. Who cares about him? Let's beat Speedy Fireball. This guy has no empathy for his dad.
Let's get this race started.
So they race and get chased by the cop again. And the race gets canceled. They all scatter and skedaddle. Officer Car Cop, what a name. Officer Car Cop is gonna send Danny to Juvie, since, he's been speeding and racing illegally. So this is a good cop, finally.
I wanna go where you go. I wanna begin where
I forgot it was a musical.
end. I wanna...
God, I forgot it was a musical. None of them are good. So she sings about how she loves Danny. It's halfway through the movie, and I was already done with it. I didn't want to continue. And literally directly after this, there's going to be an awkward love scene again with Danny and Cabigail. And it's so bad.
Young love. Very touching.
Who, us? We're not in love.
Gay car? What did I mean by gay car?
You guys better put on cruise control, because you got a long ride ahead of you.
Whew, yep, that's a gay car. Guys better put on cruise control. So they get sent to Juvie, and they're orange now. Is it like a coat of paint? Is that clothing to them? What does that mean in this scenario? That's their clothing, apparently. So their skin is their clothing? What is their skin? So Vinny's here, and they tell them how they need to get to Clunker Island so they can save their dad, and yada, yada, yada. Vinny just randomly says...
Dude, I never knew my dad. I wish I had a dad.
Vinny, why the f*** did you bring that up right now? This isn't like character development. It's just like a random add-in. It didn't ever flush out his character. So they plan to break out. Carshank Redemption style.
Neither of you have seen the Carshank Redemption?
Wow, that's just funny, isn't it? Makes me want to chuckle a little bit. So they plan to escape Juvie by tunneling out of it. Carshank Redemption style.
That movie was Carshank Redemption.
Please stop saying Carshank Redemption. So they break out in the cars, find them, and chased after them.
We're all in
Oh my. That is a huge hole.
I love that gay guy's voice. So the colors disappear in the rain. Would that just make them a paint? What is it? Is it like dust? Do they dust them? How does it just come off in the rain? Do they just expect that if it rains while they're outside that all the thing comes off? So they make it to the impossible forest. And they need to cross the impossible forest. Vinny distracts the guards and finally does something good in the movie and allows Danny and Cabigale to get away.
Someone has to distract those cop cars.
You don't have to do this, Vin.
There's nothing for me on the outside. But Danny, you just make sure you save your dad.
They get lost in the forest, and a mysterious voice finds them. It's just Kyle. And they do not like Kyle. They really don't like Kyle.
I think there might be a tree growing out of my back.
Wow! Funny joke! I almost laughed. So, while they're trying to help out Kyle, who they hate, they find signs that show them the way out of the forest, so they just follow that.
Now it's on to the dock. Port incredibly risky.
So they get to the ferry again, and this time they've lost their pink slip, so they can actually go ahead. But before they go on, they gotta gamble for it. While they get to Clunker Island, Danny has to deal with the Clunker people, the Clunker civilization, duh.
We're clunkers, we're just a bunch.
Oh my god. I keep forgetting it's a musical. The song also goes on for way too long. So before they get murdered by the Mad Max cars, some girl named Carlita pops in front of them. Carlita is the daughter to the chieftain of the Mad Max car people of Clunkerland. She's supposed to be dumb on purpose, but I think she has a learning disability because she kind of just misuses stuff, and that's supposed to be her quirk.
There isn't much space.
You mean time?
Time and space. Good pun.
It's not funny. She says it a lot. So they go into the Cave of Misery to find Danny's dad. Danny's dad, when they find him, has, no joke, been f***ed up. Danny's dad's seen some things. He's seen the Clunker people just take off his tires and organs and live. So they talk.
He's gotten a lot more responsible.
No, he hasn't. Danny has not improved at all. What responsibility? He showed no sign of improvement. So it's found that at sunup, Danny's dad is going to be killed. And they make a genius plan to steal all his parts back, of course. So the chieftain's daughter, Carlita, allows them to do this, but under one condition. They take her to cargo.
Carlotta, is that you?
Yes, Daddy.
Yes, Daddy. So they steal all the parts back.
It is. Except for me.
She's gonna sing.
I was manufactured right here.
She's gonna sing.
I wanna go
Oof.
where the autos
So they just took the Little Mermaid song and replaced it with like car words. They added car words to it so they could make it a different song. Weirdly though, she's good at singing. It's like my one favorite. It's like my one song I liked in this movie. Was that movement? So they're missing Danny's dad's one part left. There's one part left until Danny's dad is fully fixed up. And it's like the engine or something. So Danny has to fight Miss Fritter again. He wears dead car parts. That sounds disgusting. It's like taking somebody's like rib cage and like wearing it as a helmet. Do they just sit on swings? How do they get up there? So he fights Miss Fritter. More singing, more singing, more singing, more singing. While singing, Danny gets crushed.
Twisted metal!
So he gets crushed by Miss Fritter, and Cabigale decides to fight the bus so she can avenge her fallen crush.
I'm gonna get it again.
This is getting monotonous!
So it turns out that Danny wasn't crushed, and in fact was saved by the armor. But they get the engine, and they're getting really close to repairing their dad. But as that's happening, they're also really close for the sun to come up and Danny's dad to die.
Forgive me, Father, for I had an oil leak.
If there's a priest, wouldn't that mean that there is a car god and car religions? Do you think Lightning McQueen is like Jesus to them? So Danny finally fixes up his dad and they sneak away. So as they're sneaking away, the Mad Max people notice and they chase after them. They barely get on the ferry and escape.
But you don't know how to write?
Carlita doesn't know how to write? How do cars write? What does their language look like? Is it just English or is it like Carglish? So they finally make it back to their home and Danny and Abigail finally decide to go on a date. Aww. Why did I write that? Danny and Abigail finally Danny and Abigail finally cut the sexual tension and decide that they'll go on a date. What a line by me. So it's revealed after they get their pink slips back that Danny's dad used to race. So it's like, oh, I'm the same as you.
How do you even know him?
We used to race together.
You used to race?
Yep.
Wow.
So it's revealed that Officer Cop Car knew their plan all along and was actually helping them by sending them to Juvie, which is kind of a stretch. Danny, after finally realizing that he was just being stubborn, finally wants to become a mechanic because him and his dad are buddy-buddy again.
Welcome to Cargo,
I really hate the singing, but I can't be too mad. The movie is over. What do I think about the movie? I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It wasn't great and it wasn't good, but it's not as bad as IMDb would have it. It was a slog and there was very little funny moments, and the songs, -1, they were all shit. It had some parts of charm, and the message that you should be courageous and kind is very, very nice at least. Oh yeah, at the end of the movie, Danny and Abigail go on a date. Can't wait to see their kids. How do cars have kids? I